Hello everyone. Welcome to another episode of Important Locations for Map-Based Questions. This initiative has been brought to you by Aptiplus Academy for Civil Services. My name is Shaikh Datta. I am the faculty for Geography and Environment at Aptiplus Academy for Civil Services. So in this initiative, we have been looking at various places across the world which has been there in the news and which hence become relevant for the upcoming UPSC prelims to 2020. We have covered various areas across the world, and in the last video we were looking at India and the important places from India which were there in the news in the last 1 year. So let me give you a quick recap of the places that we had seen, and then we will move on to the new places which we are going to look at in details in this particular video. Okay. So let us start with the first place that we had looked at. So a quick recap in the beginning. Okay. So the first place that we had looked at was Mamalapuram or Mahabalipuram. So when it comes to Mamalapuram or Mahabalipuram, what is it? It is located, it is a very ancient, important port town which is located along the coast of Tamil Nadu. Along the coast of Tamil Nadu, the coast of Tamil Nadu is also referred to as the Coromandel coast. So this particular place was there in the news. Now the question is why? Because it had been the site or the area where reception of the Chinese President Xi Jinping that was done. And we also get to see that this particular summit, it was the second informal summit between India and China. Okay. So this was the second informal summit between India and China, whereas the first informal summit between India and China that had taken place at Wuhan, which you must be aware of, already we had discussed in April 2018. So Mamalapuram or Mahabalipuram, it was the location for the second informal summit between India and China. Also, we get to see that it is an UNESCO World Heritage Site. Plus, we get to see 7th to 8th century Hindu monuments have been constructed over here. They are present over here. And it was an important religious place for the Hindus and it was built by the Pallava king whose name was Narasimha Varman I. Narasimha Varman I. So all these things we have already seen. Next, we had also discussed why this particular area was called as, or it is still called as Mahabalipuram or Mamalapuram. And that is because we get to see the person who had built these temples, that is Narasimha Varman I. He was also called as Mahamalla or the great wrestler. And Mamalapuram, it was named on the basis of the name of Narasimha Varman I, that is Mahamalla. So Mamalapuram or Mahabalipuram has been named on the lines of the builder of this place or the person who has built this place, that is Narasimha Varman I, who was a Pallava king. He was a devotee of Shiva, and we get to see some very important temples are located over here. Pancharatha temple, all of these are examples of rock cut temples. Okay, so all these things we had already seen. We are also seeing here Mamalapuram was one of the one of the two major port cities by the 7th century within the Pallava kingdom. Different type of temples will be there. Rathas were there, mandapas were there, and then also there were giant open rock relief. For example, Descent of the Ganga, which is a very famous sculpture. Located over here. Similarly, you have the Shore temple, which was dedicated to Shiva, Durga, Vishnu, all such gods and goddesses. It was dedicated to. Plus, we also get to see that marinas, that is people who came by ships and all, since the time of Marco Polo, so they used to refer to this particular place as the seven pagodas. Okay, they used to refer to this particular place as the seven pagodas because there used to be actually seven such temples of Mamalapuram, which used to lie on the shore of Mamalapuram. But then we get to see out of those seven temples, only one survives right now, and that is the Shore temple. And that is why we get to see, because this particular area has been a very important area for port or a very important port where a lot of trading activities were conducted, and that is why Mamalapuram was chosen to be the site to receive the Chinese President Xi Jinping. Okay, because it had a lot of Chinese connections as well. Anyway, so all these things we have already seen. Okay, the next place that we had looked at was New Delhi. And why New Delhi? Because we get to see that the COP 14 or the Conference of Parties 14, Conference of Parties 14 to which convention? That is UNCCD, United Nations Convention to combat desertification. So the 14th meeting of the parties to UNCCD, United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification. So the 14th meeting of the parties had taken place over there, resulting in the formation or resulting in the publication of the New Delhi Declaration. And already when we were looking at this, we had seen what is meant by desertification, what are the major or the important points of UNCCD, and we had also seen that the theme of this particular conference, which is again very, very important, you should remember the theme of this part. The theme of the COP14, it is also called as investing in land, unlocking opportunities. Okay? Investing in land and unlocking opportunities, that is the theme of this particular COP14. Okay? Next, total we get to see around 196 countries have participated in this particular summit, COP14, and we also get to see that EU had also participated. Plus, we also get to see that this declaration, it had raised the ambitious approach of restoring land with people first approach. So people participation became a very important part of this particular summit, and the whatever was the result, which was published in the form of the Delhi Declaration. Okay. Moving on, we had also looked at another place which is in Odisha, that is called as Talcher. Talcher has also been in the news, and that is because we get to see that a coal gasification based ammonia urea complex, is being set up in India, which is capable of producing around 2,200 tons of ammonia per day and 3,850 tons of urea per day. But that is not our lookout. Plus, also we get to see it is present in Odisha in the district of Angul and a little bit far away from Bhubaneswar, and 126 kilometers from Bhubaneswar. So not only will it produce ammonia, but not only also it will produce urea. So ammonia, urea, so anyway it will produce. But apart from that, we also get to see sulfur flakes will also be produced by this particular coal gasification based ammonia urea complex. Okay. Please remember, it is not only ammonia, but also urea will also be produced, and along with that, we'll get to see sulfur flakes will also be formed. Okay, so we learned why Talcher was there in the news. Today we will see a few more important places. For example, the first important place that we are going to look at, it is called as Mahabaleshwar. This is the first important place that we are going to look at. It is called as Mahabaleshwar. So where is Mahabaleshwar located? Mahabaleshwar, it is located in Maharashtra. So you must be aware about this. Mahabaleshwar, it is located in Maharashtra, and it is also referred to as the Queen of the Hill Stations. Mahabaleshwar is also called as the Queen of the Hill Stations. So as I thought, you might be aware that a lot of times we get to see different hill stations will be given this particular tag of being the Queen of Hill Stations. For example, when we look at let's say Bengal, North India, here we get to see Darjeeling is called as the Queen of Hill Stations. So when it comes to Bengal and all, we get to see Darjeeling is called as the Queen of Hill Stations, whereas when it comes to the Western Ghats, you will get to see that Ooty is sometimes also referred to as the Queen of Hill Stations. Similarly, we get to see the part of Western Ghats which lies in Maharashtra. Over here, Mahabaleshwar is also referred to as Queen of Hill Stations. So just have some idea that Maharashtra, in Maharashtra, Mahabaleshwar is there, and Mahabaleshwar is also called as the Queen of Hill Stations. It is present in the southeastern part of Mumbai. It is present in the southeastern part of Mumbai. So where is our Mahabaleshwar? Here is our Mahabaleshwar. So here you have Mumbai, and you can understand it's quite close to Mumbai, southeastern part of Mumbai. There you will find Mahabaleshwar. Okay, so now moving on, why it was there in the news. So Mahabaleshwar was there in the news because we get to see that last year Mahabaleshwar had received around 7175.4 millimeters of rainfall, and this was more rainfall than Mawsynram, which received around 6218.4 millimeter between June 1st and September 4th. Again, the amount is not so much necessary. Have some more or less have some broad idea regarding the amount of rainfall that is taking place, but it is not necessary to be knowing the exact information. That's not necessary. What is important is that you remember that last year Mahabaleshwar had received more rainfall than Mawsynram also between June to September. as per the data of Indian Meteorological Department. अब question ये आता है कि where is this particular place located? Mahabaleshwar, where is it located? So let us have a look. First of all, where is it located? It is present in the Sahyadri Hills. So Sahyadri, what is that? Sahyadri is nothing but the ranges of the Western Ghats which are found in Maharashtra. उनको सह्याद्री कहा जाता है, ठीक है? So it is present in the Sahyadri Hills, that is Mahabaleshwar. What is the name of the district? The name of the district is Satara district. So Mahabaleshwar, it is present in the Sahyadri Hills, and we get to see that that it is located in the Satara district. Next, we also get to see, okay, how the name of this place has been derived. Okay, Mahabaleshwar. From the name itself, we can understand that the name of the place, it has been derived from Lord Mahadev, and we will also get to see that temple of Lord Mahadev is situated over here. So name of the place has been derived from Lord Mahadev, and the temple of Lord Mahadev is also located over here. If you break down the word Mahabaleshwar, you'll get to see Maha, which of course means great, and Bal is power, Ishwar is God. So Maha basically refers to great, Bal is power, and Ishwar, that means God. So you can combine these three terms. Mahabaleshwar, it basically means God having a lot of power, great God having huge amount of power. This is what is meant by Mahabaleshwar. Actually, Mahabaleshwar is also famous for strawberries as well. Next, let us move on to another very important location which was there in the news, that is called as Kaleshwaram. Now the thing is, why Kaleshwaram? Because Kaleshwaram becomes India's largest multi-stage lift irrigation project. Okay. So Kaleshwaram, what is it? It is India's largest multi-stage lift irrigation project. So you can go through what are the, because this is nothing but a paper cutting that I've taken, and over here it is not very important that you have to remember all these figures. That is not very important. Okay, but what you have to remember are the rivers over which this particular project has been set up. That is Kaleshwaram. So on which river has it been set up? Let us have a look at it. You can also Google. I don't think it's very clearly visible in the picture over here, for you at least. So, but more or less, I just want to tell you that you can Google for this and you'll get all the information. You can just have a look at. You can just have a look at the picture of Kaleshwaram lift irrigation project, because I don't think it's very clearly visible in the PDF over here. But let us go into the details of this particular lift irrigation project. Number one, this Kaleshwaram lift irrigation project is one of the largest multi-stage, multi-purpose lift irrigation project in the world. Okay, multi-stage, multi-purpose lift irrigation project in the world, and it has been built across the Godavari River. So from here, I'm just telling you, but if you want to see in which part of Godavari, etc., it has been built, I will just ask you to just Google for Kaleshwaram lift irrigation project, and then you'll be able to see the actual map, because over here I do not feel that it can be seen very clearly. Okay, so what you have to remember is this. Kaleshwaram lift irrigation project, it has been built over or it has been built across the Godavari River. It is present in Telangana, and it is present in the Kaleshwaram and Bhupalpalli area. Bhupalpalli area and Kaleshwaram area. These areas are lying in which state? In the state of Telangana. And in the state of Telangana, we also get to see Godavari River flowing. This lift irrigation project, it has been built across the Godavari River. It will be able to irrigate around 45 lakh hectares of land. So you can understand the importance of this particular project so far as the farmers of Telangana are concerned. Already these areas, they are the area of the state of Telangana, it's very dry, and hence it is necessary for some amount of irrigation to be present. So we get to see that this lift irrigation project, the Kaleshwaram lift irrigation project, it will be able to irrigate around 45 lakh hectares of land, and this lift irrigation project is used for 2 crops a year. It's used for 2 crops a year. Will also meet the drinking water needs of 70% of the population population of Telangana, plus the water needs of the industries also. So it will meet the drinking water needs of 70% of the population of Telangana, plus it will also meet the needs of water needs of the industries as well. There are two important rivers over here that you should be aware of. One is the Pranhita river, the other is the Godavari river. And these two rivers, they will meet at Kaleshwaram. Okay, so please remember, Ekto it is built across the Godavari river, but apart from the Godavari, we also have the Pranhita river, and these two rivers they meet at Kaleshwaram. Okay, now Kaleshwaram, as you can understand, it is the largest. But before the Kaleshwaram lift irrigation project, we also get to see that there were other important lift irrigation schemes as well. For example, we have the Colorado lift scheme, which is in America. Okay, Colorado lift scheme, it is in America. Similarly, we also get to see the Great Man-Made River in Egypt. The Great Man-Made River that is present in Egypt. So, Colorado Lift Irrigation Project in America, the Great Man-Made River in Egypt, all of these were there present before Kaleshwaram Lift Irrigation Project had been established. Okay, and we will look at the last important topic of today's session, that is Nandankanan Zoological Park. Now the question is why this? Because here we get to see okay, this is the first zoo in the world which breeds both white tiger as well as melanistic tiger. Let me give you a little bit of background to this. First of all, Nandankanan, where is it located? It is present in Orissa. Okay. Also, we get to see the name Nandankanan. Actually, the name Nandankanan, it has been derived from a combination of two names. One is Nandan, the other is Kanan. Nandan, as you can understand, it means a boy, child, or Kanan, it means the garden. Okay. Why these naming conventions? Because we get to see okay, there were two such wild tigers. Actually, this particular zoo, it is present in a setting of a forest. So basically, there is a big forest which is called as Chandaka forest, and this particular zoo, it is present on one of the fringes or edges of the Chandaka forest. So what used to happen earlier is this: that you had a lot of wild animals also coming near these zoo enclosures. Okay, and we get to see that there have been two such incidents or two such cases where we get to see that there had been wild tigers which had intentionally come into the zoo on their own by climbing over the cages. So some wild tigers, especially two of them, and not at the same time though, these things had taken place many years apart. But we get to see two wild tigers, they had been able to make their way inside the zoo. One was called as Nandan, the other was called as Kanan. And that is from when we get to see the name Nandan Kanan, it has been derived. Now, what do we understand the white tiger? White tiger is a normal tiger. Then you get to see there is a background of almost orange color. There is an orange color background. There will be an absence of pigment. So this female pigment will be orange color background. There will be an absence of pigments and it is priced with the orange color. Now tigers will be almost whitish in color because of the absence of the pigment. And that is a very interesting tiger. White tiger you can understand. And white tiger is not a separate subspecies of tiger. The Bengal tiger itself, which because not possessing a particular female pigment, that is why they become whitish. It is nothing but a normal Bengal tiger. Okay, so there has been a bit of connection issue. Just hold on. I'll just try to put the PDF back again. Some connection issue has been there. So just give me a minute. So I believe you must be able to see now. Okay. Right. So I was talking about white tigers and I was talking about melanistic tiger. White tiger, as I just told you, that they will be lacking, they are nothing but normal Bengal tigers, and they'll be lacking the pigment pheomelanin, and that is what makes them white in color. On the other hand, when we look at a melanistic tiger, which is very, very rare actually, melanistic tigers are only found in the forest of Simlipal Tiger Reserve in Odisha. Only in Simlipal there is something in the environment of Simlipal which gives rise to the melanistic tiger. So what is meant by melanistic tiger? Also referred to as black tiger, but they are not completely black. What happens in case of melanistic tiger or black tiger is this: okay, instead of having a an orangish background and on that you have black stripes. If you look at a melanistic tiger or a black tiger, you will feel as if it has a black coat, and on that you have very thin, narrow, orangish stripes. So basically, the black stripes, they are so thick. The black stripes, that is not actually the case. Black stripes, that itself, they are so thick, it will appear to be as if it is the black color which forms the background, and only the stripe portion that is orangish in color. Anyway, so so the thing is this, okay, please remember, melanistic tigers, it is only found in the forest of Simlipal due to some reason we don't yet know, but it has been photographed only over there. And if you go to Nandakanan Zoo, that there also you find all three types of tigers. That is, normal tiger is there, you will also have the white tiger, even you will also have the melanistic tiger being present. Not only that, but also we get to see that this particular zoo, it is the only conservation breeding center of the Indian pangolin in the world. Only conservation breeding center of the Indian pangolin in the world. So it is a very, very threatened species, and we get to see, okay, right now China to some extent has reduced the consumption of or the demand for this pangolin. But earlier it was suspected that maybe it is because people had been eating uh, in different parts of the Indian pangolin that might have caused the coronavirus as well. That is something, that is a theory which is still yet to be proved clearly, but it is something which is believed. So this is our Indian pangolin. Okay, and unfortunately, this is the world's most trafficked mammal. Trafficked matlab सबसे ज़्यादा smuggling, highest amount of smuggling takes place for this particular mammal. And the method in which these mammals are killed, that is also very, very cool. We get to see that these mammals, so usually the hunters who go out to hunt these pangolins, and they are nocturnal creatures, so they can only be found at night roaming around. So they will hit their heads, make them unconscious or kill them, and then they will dip their body in extremely heated boiling water, which will help to take the scales out. So scales can easily come off. It is these scales and also the meat of the Indian pangolin which is in high demand. Okay, so it is the world's most trafficked mammal. Why is that so? Because we get to see poaching for its scales, meat, and other body parts. It threatens the pangolin today, and all we all get to see around 650 pangolins are poached every year. And here you can find, okay, what are the other important things. Okay, Indian pangolin, Chinese pangolin, all different types of pangolins are there. Now, regarding this particular zoo, that is Nandankanan Zoo, we get to see that it was established in 1960. That is very important. It was established in 1960. Next, it's a zoo plus it's a botanical garden. It's located on the fringes of Bhubaneswar. So it is not in the main city, of course, but it is located on the fringes of Bhubaneswar. That is on the absolutely areas which lie on the outer side. See, this is an example of a black tiger. Now you can understand it's not a completely black tiger, but it is an example of a melanistic tiger. So this is an example of a melanistic tiger. So over here you can see the coat itself. Most of it is black, and in the middle you have tiny stripes. Okay, which are more or less normal color stripes, but otherwise most of it is actually black. That is why it is called as black tiger, sometimes also called as melanistic tiger. So regarding Nandankanan, also you should remember, okay, the Nandankanan Zoo, it is the first zoo in the country to join the World Association of Zoos and Aquariums in 2009. So that is a huge, it's a very important thing. We get to see this the first zoo in the country in India who have joined the World Association of Zoos and Aquariums in 2009. This is a very important piece of information that you should be aware of. First zoo in the country to join the World Association of Zoos and Aquariums in 2009. And here you get to see a camera trap picture, which was actually taken when tiger census was being carried out. So cameras were fixed, and that automatically was able to capture a picture where we get to see inside the picture. You have a normal colored tiger over here. Surely it's a tigress. So here you have a normal colored tigress, whereas over here you have a cub, and the cub, as you can see, it's a melanistic cub. So both types of them will, and these are not separate subspecies, they're the same species only the coloration varies with regards to the presence or absence of eumelanin. Otherwise pheomelanin pigment and all, but otherwise the subspecies is the same. Okay, so over here you get to see that there are two different, you can say two different colored tigers over here. One is the normal colored tiger and the other is the melanistic tiger. On the other hand, you have a third different colored tiger as well. This is the white tiger, but again, please understand, okay, whether it is a white tiger, it is not a separate subspecies. It is the same Bengal tiger. It is a subspecies. Also, we get to see that. So our Nandankanan Zoo, it was created by carving out a part of the Chandaka forest. I've already mentioned about the Chandaka forest. It was created by carving out a part of the Chandaka forest, which is famous as an elephant reserve. It contains Kanjia Lake as well. Okay, so Chandaka forest is famous as, so related to this. Bhubaneswar Zoo is Chandaka. In Bhubaneswar Zoo, we will be having all three types of tigers, that is normal color tigers or the white tiger and also the black tiger or the melanistic. And not only that, but also you get to see that the Indian pangolin is also present over here. Okay, and also we get to see that this is the first zoo from India which has joined the World Association of Zoos and Aquariums in 2009. Plus, you also need to remember, okay, over here we have the Chandaka forest. From or a part of the Chandaka forest is it was used for the setting up of the Nandankanan Zoo. Plus, this Chandaka forest is famous as an elephant reserve. A lot of elephants are found over here. Plus, it also contains a lake called as Kanjia Lake, where you get to see a lot of migratory birds will come. Okay. So, with this, we complete different important locations so far as India is concerned. And I hope you have liked this video. There are many more locations that we have to look at, and we'll see those in our upcoming videos. So till then, please like this video, share it with your other friends who are also preparing for UPSC, because it will be beneficial for them. Along with that, also subscribe to Aptitude Academy for Civil Services YouTube channel for more such informative videos. I'll be back with a new video where we'll look at other important places across the world. So till then, please take care and stay safe. Thank you so much.